Welcome to Drinks in the Library, the only library where drinks aren't just allowed, they are required. I'm your librarian host, Gigi Howard, and each episode I'll be interviewing a guest about a much-loved book that we will be pairing with a drink for you to enjoy along with us or consider for your next book club meetup. As always, stay curious and support your local library. Hello, Libration Nation. This week we are discussing Culpability by Bruce Holsinger. It's a techno thriller about a family drama around the moral fallout of a fatal crash involving an autonomous minivan. The novel follows the family as they confront guilt, secrets, and the ethical questions surrounding AI after their teenage son, Charlie, is involved in an accident while the car is in self-driving mode. It explores themes of technology's impact on human relationships, corporate greed, and complex dynamics between parents and teenagers. And I am discussing this book with Barbara Ferrara. Barbara is a librarian, mother, lifelong learner, passionate reader. I do not know anyone that reads more than Barbara, and she loves to travel and is currently learning Spanish. We had a very interesting discussion as we both shared our experiences using AI, some thoughts on it, exploring some of the themes of the book. We paired this conversation with an old-fashioned, the opposite of AI, right? Also, one last thing before we get started. If you are listening to this the week of April 14th, the year of our Lord 2026, this week is the Bon Air Book Festival. I'm super excited. It's Saturday, April 18th at the Brighton Green Community Center here in Bon Air. We're going to have a book truck, a food truck. There's a bartender, y'all. We're going to have local authors, bookish merch, poetry reading, live music, and at 3 o'clock, I am doing a live recorded episode with award-winning author Meg Medina. That is a ticketed event, so I recommend you go ahead and get your tickets now. As we're entering this week, we're seeing them getting scooped up faster and faster, so go and get your tickets now. It's going to be so much fun. Also, I'm planning things for kids, so if you want to bring your kids along, we're going to have interactive things for everyone to do. It's going to be so much fun. All tickets come with a drink. It's going to be a blast. You can find information about the book festival and the live recording on my website under events. So I hope to see you there. And without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, good. I hope it's fun. I mean, that's always, someone I talked to recently said it's kind of like a book club because you don't really, sometimes you go to the book club and it's really serious. And sometimes it's like nobody read the book and you're just there to have a drink.
Yeah, and that's okay
Yeah. So,
because reading it can be a social kind of thing.
yeah. And I think it's so interesting to hear why people love the books that they love.
Yeah.
But it's hard to read a lot. And so, but you are like a huge reader. Like you're probably one of the biggest readers I know.
Yeah.
So let's go to Culpability.
Okay.
So we are discussing Culpability by Bruce Holsinger. So I always start off, who were you when you read this book?
Well, where I was is I'm still a librarian working in a public library, and I'm interested in reading. I'm a mother of children, children who are young adults, pretty much still, and vaguely aware of artificial intelligence and trying to avoid it because I'm thinking I didn't need to know anything about it because it didn't really impact my life because I'm thinking of self-driving cars, which I doubt I would ever choose to do because I love to drive.
You do?
I love to drive.
Oh, that's good to know.
Well, my father was a car dealer.
Okay.
And I worked for him, off and on. And so I was avoiding knowing about artificial intelligence because I don't have Siri or Alexa, nothing in my house. And I just didn't think it applied to me. But this kind of opened my eyes. I read it because I know Bruce Holsinger. He's a friend of mine. I read everything he does. And I figured if he was interested in it and had something to say about it, it would be something that I'd want to know about, and I would always appreciate his insight and his research. And just the last couple books that he has done have been very timely. So I've learned from them. And even with this book, I mean, I reread it over the last couple of days, and I learned even more about artificial intelligence
Okay.
that I didn't know before, because since the first time I read the book, I've had more interaction with artificial intelligence as far as meeting minutes. And, I'm on a committee that does stuff with people that are seeking jobs and how to use artificial intelligence to, create their resumes or to prepare for interviews and things like that. So, more and more artificial intelligence is intruding on my life, whether I want it to or not.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you can't get away from it. Okay, so I'm interested. So you don't use Siri or you don't have an Alexa. You don't do
no,
any of that.
I don't.
So on your phone, because I know you have an iPhone.
I do have an
Because when
iPhone.
you text me, you're blue.
Yes. And I'm kind of switching over from like texting to WhatsApp
Okay.
because I've been traveling more
Mm.
and I have a lot of friends. I've been trying to learn Spanish. So most of my contacts outside of the United States are on WhatsApp.
Okay. So, but you don't ever say, "Hey Siri, like what's 4 times 325?"
Nope, I've never ever done
You've
that.
never done. Okay, 'cause
But I mean, I went to a friend's house for Thanksgiving or Christmas one time, and they have a smart home,
Mm-hmm.
and they did that all day long.
Do you use Canva? Do you use?
I use Canva at work,
Mm-hmm.
and is that AI?
Well, it's not. I think it's not completely AI, but there's a lot of aspects to it. Like you can be like, make me a picture of an old fashioned set in Bruce Holsinger's Culpability book. I mean, I don't know if it could go that far,
Can you do
really.
that? Let's do that.
Do you want me to ask Canva? I don't know, because I think you would have to really know. I mean, but it might be able to pull up what the cover looks like and kind of, it spells things wrong all the time.
Right. And that would get on my nerves
Yeah.
because
So,
I'm like a perfectionist.
yeah.
Spelling.
So in Canva specifically, it spells things wrong a lot. So, but I often think people are like, well, I'm against AI, but there's so much is already intertwined with so many things. I mean, talking about this book, I do not have a self-driving car. However, I do have a car that it does not have cruise control. It has a button that I turn on and it sets the pace, but then it also sets how far it will let me be. Like I can choose, do I want to follow closely or do I want to follow really far? So if someone comes in front of me, it will hit the brakes and then it will also stay in the lane. So if I'm driving on the highway, I am
So
driving.
what do you have to do to say you're driving? You just have to steer,
I have to,
stay in your lane,
it will yell at me. It will, if I have, because I often hold the wheel.
steering wheel.
I will hold the steering wheel at the bottom. And it's just that's just how I've always driven. And it wants you to hold it at the top. So if I go like more than a minute without holding at the top, it will be like, and make me.
Oh, I would hate that. I mean, I have a Subaru, and it's pretty
Uh-huh.
new. So my guess is that's probably an option or something that would be available
Mm-hmm.
to me. Well, first of all, I have to hold my steering wheel at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And you know why? The feature I have that I never knew I needed.
Oh,
Heated steering wheel. I will never have a car without a heated steering wheel.
okay.
It's the best.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't think I would like my car to
to do all of that.
help me how to drive. It already turns off at stop signs. I guess or stoplights. I think it's a energy saving
Mm-hmm.
feature,
Mm-hmm.
and it irritates me.
Yeah.
It's like it's like my car just turned off.
Yeah. Anyway, it's little things like that. And so I'm always, when people are like, I don't use AI, I 100% agree that so many things have been stolen. I don't like that at all.
What's an example of that?
I can't tell you exactly, but I know like Meta apparently just took thousands of authors' books and fed them into their AI to teach it how to write. And I mean, not just books, but art. And I mean, like I said, for Canva, you can now just give it a prompt and it will make a picture for you.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, I just think it's a complicated subject. And so, what is AI? What's not AI? And
So how does it add to your life, or how does it make your life easier?
I don't know if to clarify, I don't think that I am like using it so much that I am like on the cutting edge. I think I would be much more eloquently talking about it if I knew a ton about it. But I mean, I definitely, what have I used it for recently? Prompts for ideas, either for at work or for the podcast
Mhm.
that I might struggle with. Sometimes it kind of gets the juices flowing.
My first use of it was to write a justification for an award nomination I was writing.
Mhm. I will tell you that the editing software that I use to edit this podcast has AI, and basically it transcribes. So when we're done with this, I take the file, it's a WAV file, I feed it into my editing software, and it transcribes it. When I first started doing the podcast, I hand edited every single episode. It would take me like,
By the text?
no, without text, listening to
Just
it.
listening to it.
Just listening to it. So I would have to go. Yeah, it took me 4 hours.
Oh my god.
Now I have a software that transcribes everything. I can push a button in it and it will take out all filler words.
Mm.
It's called Descript. I'm not gatekeeping. If there's any podcasters like, what is she using? But I mean, I have to pay for it, but it saves me a ton of time. I mean, I think if anyone's mad at me for using it for that, sorry.
Well, maybe a lot of people don't know anyway.
Yeah.
Because
So,
it is kind of under the radar in a lot of instances. Like I said, I'm more and more aware of all the ways that artificial intelligence, AI, actually is in my life, in my personal life and my work life, that I never thought it was. So,
right,
and in this book,
right.
where I was when I first read it, which was right when it first came out, because I know Dr.
Bruce.
Holsinger,
Mhm.
yeah, and
Came
I've
out
read
last
his
year.
previous books,
Mhm.
and so I was like, it was on my radar. He's got a new book. He had one of his previous books called The Gifted School.
Mm.
Coincidentally, I mean, seriously, it was already in like pre-publication when there was that big scandal about celebrities sending their
Oh, Aunt
kids.
Becky.
Yeah, Aunt Becky. So, what good timing, right?
Yeah.
But he's a medievalist. He teaches medieval literature.
Really?
Yeah, and his first two books took place in medieval London.
Mm.
John Gower, who was a contemporary of Chaucer, both civil servants, both writers, both residents of London in that time period, both on the outskirts of the court,
Mm.
whatever. So he was his protagonist in his first two books,
Mm.
A Burnable Book and The Invention of Fire. And so those are the ones I first became aware of. And I loved him because I loved historical fiction.
Mhm.
But then he started to venture into his new interests in some of the more contemporary issues.
Mm.
And he's such a good researcher
Mm.
that I really enjoy. I learned so much. So when Bruce wrote these books about these other two topics, The Gifted School, and he wrote Displacements, which had to do with the whole issue of the environment and Category
Mm.
6 hurricane that wipes out Houston and Miami,
Mm.
and what happens after that, which is even more relevant these days when, FEMA is questionable. And then this book, so this is the third one that he has not been in this historical one. So I kind of follow along, and because I know him, I really admire his interest and his research into these emerging topics.
Mm.
And I learned so much from them.
Okay, I think it's probably a good time to
Talk about the book.
talk about the book. Talk about what is going on in this story. Is this about robots?
No,
Okay.
actually, I don't think it's about robots, do you?
No. I was being like, is it about robots? And then you were going to be like, no, what she
No.
said.
Right. So, it's a family story,
Mhm.
and it's, of course, fiction. And he sets the scene in the very first few pages where a family of 5 is driving in a minivan
Mhm.
to a lacrosse tournament in Delaware, which the oldest son in the family, or actually the only son in the family,
Mhm.
is going to be playing before he's between his senior year in high school, just graduated, and he's got a scholarship to go to college,
He's going to UNC.
UNC,
Mhm.
right, in the fall. And this is his last big tournament with his club team,
Mhm.
and they're all going to Delaware, and they're in a self-driving car, a minivan. And so he's driving this 17-year-old boy. The father, Noah, who is the narrator of the story, is in the passenger seat in the front. His laptop, not even his phone, but on his laptop, is in his lap,
Mhm.
and he's working on a memo or something for a case he's working on. In the second row behind the driver is his wife,
Lorelai.
Lorelei, who is a professor at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. They live in the northern Maryland, D.C. suburbs.
Mhm.
And she has a double PhD in philosophy
Mhm.
and AI. So her interest is the morality
Mhm.
of AI,
Okay.
artificial intelligence,
Mhm.
but the connection of it to, you know, responsibility and being good issues. So that's her academic and her professional
Yeah.
specialty. She's got headphones on. She's also working on work
Yeah.
while they're driving. Also in the middle row is the oldest daughter, Alice, who is a little younger than Charlie, the son, and she's in there texting with what turns out to be a chatbot.
Yeah, so I thought that was it because I didn't catch that at first. I was like, oh, because they later talk about how she's struggling to make friends, and Noah, the dad, is like, oh my gosh, you've made this friend. Like he was so like it's just great to see her having someone to reach out to, and you see a first interaction with them, and you're like, that's nice, and then you realize, oh, she's talking to an
Yeah,
AI.
and so the way the book unfolds, he kind of intersperses the main progression of the story itself
Mm-hmm.
about, an incident that's going to be affecting the rest of the story, but also segments of a book that how do you bring
Lorelei.
Laura writes
Mm-hmm.
regarding the morality.
Lorelei.
Uh,
It doesn't matter.
yeah, the morality of artificial intelligence and the history of their relationship, he and his wife,
Mm-hmm.
and the effects. Well, he's very insecure. Let me just say that.
No, Noah is.
Noah is
Yeah.
the father, and he's the narrator.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't find him very sympathetic because it's like, why are you so insecure? But
Mm-hmm.
she's so much smarter than him. But that's not really a problem. They've been married a long time, and it's because of who he is
Mm-hmm.
that she can be with him. Like, she has been socially awkward. In fact, the way they met in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
she was in school, he was in law school at DePaul, and they kind of met accidentally. And I mean, everybody thinks she's a genius,
Mm.
and I mean, that's fine with some people, but some people are really like, I just can't handle that, and there there are quirks,
Yeah, that come with that kind of brilliance.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I didn't mention back to the accident
Mm-hmm.
that happens in chapter 1. So they're in this minivan, and there's a fifth person in the car. The youngest daughter, who's in the
Izzy.
third row,
Mhm.
Izzy.
Mhm.
Yeah, Alice is in the second row, Izzy's in the back row. And she's the youngest. She's also got a cell phone, which it's revealed later on, was a cause for some tension between Noah and Lorelai because he allowed her to get it at a younger age than they had
Agreed
decided
on.
together to
Oh my
allow
gosh.
their kids to get
It's such.
cell phones.
What age were your kids when they got cell phones? Do you remember?
I don't remember the age, but they were in middle school.
Okay. So I got a cell phone in 1999. I was 16. My dad, it was so funny because I just think about it now. My dad got him a cell phone and he got me a cell phone. My mom didn't get one. I don't think she needed one. I think she may have had one for work. And maybe that was his thing, but I was starting to drive. And so he wanted to make sure I had a cell phone. I have the same number. I've had the same number my whole life. And I love that. But then now with kids growing up, I have an 11-year-old and
So does your daughter have a cell phone?
she does not. She does not have a cell phone. She does have a watch that she can call us on, and then we can add friends if they have the watch as well. So she has a few
What kind of
friends.
watch is
It's
that?
called a Gizmo.
Oh,
So, but it also has GPS on
but it
it.
sounds like a phone if she can call people.
But we can see who she's calling.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah. So anyway, all of those things. But yeah, have you read or have you heard of The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt?
No.
Okay. You would probably
And I
love
will
it.
now, and I'll be sure to
Yeah.
read it.
Yeah. So that goes into a lot
Is it
about
about
s-
the younger generation
not really.
or the older generation who's now anxious about the younger generation?
maybe both. I think it has more probably to do with like Gen Z, because of a lot of the helicopter parenting.
The gifted school.
Okay, so Bruce Holsinger knew this was coming. But yeah, it's very good. And Bill's a big fan, but it talks about like how social media and combined with the fact that people don't let their kids go far. Now, I will tell you, my child has already been to the other side of the neighborhood and back today. We had
Is
like
that far?
it's a pretty big neighborhood. Yeah. So she's got her watch on, so we kind of know where she is, and we're very fortunate to live in a neighborhood where most of us know each other.
And so for this book,
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the revelations for me about AI for tracking people. Because it was used in a couple different ways in the book for knowing where your children are, but also, when you're a DC, the billionaire's daughter that
Oh, okay.
Charlie starts becoming involved in, they could track their location of where the
Mm.
boat was because they're invested in AI and
Mm-hmm.
tracking, all sorts of tracking, and also drones.
Mm.
So,
Drones terrify me.
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But I mean, even in the library, in the makerspace, several of the staff members are getting licensed to be drone pilots, and, you know, kids are excited about it. So, anyway, these five people are in a car. They're driving to a lacrosse tournament
Mm-hmm.
in Delaware, and there's an accident. And they're in a self driving car,
Mm-hmm.
and this young man is in the driver's seat. There's a head on accident in the first chapter, and an elderly couple is killed,
Mm.
and all five of the people in the self driving minivan survive. So then most of the book takes place in the northern neck of Virginia, which is down along the Chesapeake Bay. It's a very rural area with a lot of water, inlets, and things. And Bruce Holsinger, the author, has said in previous interviews and things that the setting was where he started the book.
Okay.
It's like, did you have the idea to write about? And he's like, no, I wanted to use the setting, which is funny because I've seen a picture of a place that they rented down on the Eastern Shore, which is on the Chesapeake Bay, during the pandemic when they all left Charlottesville, Virginia, where the UVA is, and went down to the Chesapeake Bay. And this looks like it.
Oh, the cover of the
The
book.
cover of the book.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I love, and I also to talk about that it's a Virginia. He's a Virginian author where we could go see him. He's probably only an hour from us right now.
He is, and he comes to Richmond frequently. I mean,
Yeah.
I saw him at Fountain Bookstore
Love
recently.
Fountain.
Yes, they're awesome independent
Very
bookstore.
cool bookstore.
Yeah, and last year he was up for with Displacements, the Virginia Literary Award,
Okay.
Virginia Fiction,
Through
whatever,
Library of Virginia.
Library of Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
right? But he joked about it on social media, saying he was never going to win it because he was up against Demon Copperhead.
Yeah.
She's also from Virginia. We have great writers in
We
Virginia.
do. We
And
do.
so, yeah, Demon Copperhead did win
Yeah.
last year because it won everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, this book is so thought provoking to me
Mm-hmm.
because it just opened up all new sorts of things I had no idea about. It was such a learning experience
Mm-hmm.
and it's very thoughtful. And then when I went back and reread it this week, I caught on to some things that I'd even missed the first time I read it that made me really appreciate his writing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an awesome writer. He tells a story, he does dialogue and like foreshadowing and just like the arc of the story in such a good way that it really moves you along.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just you reading the story, but you're being directed how to read the story in a way. Is that artificial intelligence?
Is he AI?
I think he's a real person.
I know, but
I know he's a real person.
Mhm.
But yeah, so because he intersperses these segments from Lorelai's book,
Mhm.
which
Yes, I
is
love
called,
that.
let's see what that book is
So that will
called.
be like you'll read a chapter and then all of a sudden you'll come across like a little page and it will be a page.
Silicone Souls
Hmm.
on the Culpability of Artificial Minds.
Yes.
And so, what I didn't catch the first time I read it was at the very end when they're kind of negotiating where they're going to go from now on
Hmm.
after all of the stuff that they've been through
Hmm.
because of the accident and their experiences in the Northern Neck, which we haven't even talked about yet. But anyway, it turns out that he recommends she's given a job offer and he recommends don't take the job offer, write a book.
Okay.
And so I guess that's the book she writes.
Yeah.
And so now it's showing up,
Okay.
intermittently
In
in
the
the
story,
novel. And
yeah.
I really like the way he does that because it just keeps refocusing you on new things.
Hmm.
And it's just really interesting. I mean, his dialogue to me is it really sounds realistic to me. My experience, I raised 4 children and it just sounds real. It's like, yeah, my kids, they're not going to ever be having a career as or get a scholarship to be a lacrosse player at UNC, but they're really smart. And am I investing like their whole upbringing, my parenthood, into my self worth is how much I get them into a good place for their adulthood? Is it my responsibility to move them into a successful adulthood? Do they need a career before they're out of high school?
Mm.
You know,
Hmm.
I don't know. So that's another side topic.
Uh-huh.
Because at the very end, the son, Charlie, he and the father are having a conversation about the fallout of the different things that happened during the book. And the father is asking Charlie if he's all right. This happened and this happened and this happened. And Charlie looks at him and says, you know, those were things that were important to you. You know,
Mm.
yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, we all are experiencing different things as we move through time,
Right.
for sure.
And, we all have our upbringings and our different expectations for our children.
Hmm.
I came up during the 60s and 70s and, getting a college education, getting a good job, blah, blah, blah. You just want your children to be happy. We've been through a pandemic. You know, there's a lot more divisiveness
Hmm.
in the political world. It's just a different world,
Right.
but it's more global in a way.
Oh, absolutely.
So it makes me reevaluate. Is this really valid? Should I worry about this?
Mm.
My
Mm-hmm.
kids are pretty smart.
If they're
They're successful
happy,
in their own way. Are they happy? Are they successful?
yeah. I did an earlier episode talking about Kristen Hanna today, and one thing is she said, define success for yourself. Don't let other people define what successful is to you. So
And
I,
I think that's kind of where this is going by the
mhm.
end. You know, your success is not your children's success. He had a successful marriage with Lauralee, who's brilliant, did feel inadequate because she came from one of those like super accomplished families where
Yeah,
everybody is a professor here or a lawyer there.
yeah.
And she's got a sister who's a super lawyer, and he's a lawyer that didn't go to University of Pennsylvania.
Okay, so talking about the book just but oh, and actually, you know what I want to talk about? Um is our drink.
Yeah, let's talk about our drink. We decided on the old fashioned.
Yes. So I was gonna try to find like a Virginia-based cocktail, but you suggested you like bourbon. Uh,
I do.
yeah. So you suggested an old fashioned, and then also do you want old fashioned?
So to me, it's kind of the opposite of AI,
Mm.
old fashioned, and then AI, which is like new fashioned. They're kind of polar opposites.
Yeah. So we went the opposite way. I also wanted to make sure I got a Virginian bourbon. So this is called Tarnished Truth bourbon, and
Hmm.
it is from the Cavalier in Virginia Beach.
It's delicious.
Oh, good. Yeah, thank you. But which I I bought the bourbon and I had totally forgotten I've been to that tasting room in Virginia Beach at the
Oh,
Cavalier.
okay.
We went a few years ago. We were in Virginia Beach and we stayed at the Marriott. That's kind of like the sister hotel to the fancy old.
I'm going there in May.
Oh, are you going to the Marriott?
Mhm.
Oh, you're gonna.
Yeah, we used to go. My whole girls' trip, my family, the girls'
Uh-huh.
weekend. Like, I have two sisters, and we all have
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of girls.
Mm-hmm.
So every 2 years, we do a long weekend, like Thursday through Monday or
Okay.
Tuesday. We used to go to Eastern Shore,
Mm-hmm.
but the place that we used to go closed.
Mm-hmm.
So this year we're going to Virginia Beach
Okay.
to the Marriott.
To the oceanfront.
Mhm.
Oh, you're gonna love it. I mean, have you been before?
No,
It's
I'm looking
beautiful.
forward to it.
So beautiful. But yeah, so we're drinking old fashioned, and like I said, I did it with the tarnished truth bourbon. That's from the Cavalier in Virginia Beach. So we're all on brand with this one. I wanted to ask, I guess going into the story, the title is Culpability, right? And it's based on this accident, which two people were killed, right? Reading it initially, the opening of it, it sounds an accident. And I mean, he is driving the car, but I mean, maybe he's like me and his hands are on the bottom of the wheel and they're supposed to be at the top of the wheel, but he's doing it. So how do you think culpability comes into the story?
In several ways, but the most straightforward way is that all five of the people in the car think they're responsible or culpable for these people's death. And in fact, during the following weeks, some of them kind of obsessively read obituaries, are following the news stories about these people that died and what their lives are like and stuff. It's an elderly couple because the law in Delaware is that if the person driving is not 18, there has to be a responsible party in the car. In that case, it would be Noah, the father, who's the narrator,
Mhm.
but he's on his computer,
Mm.
on his laptop in the passenger seat. And then it gets revealed as time goes on by one of the girls, the daughters,
Mhm.
that she happened to know that Charlie, the driver, was texting.
Uh,
So, and then the other daughter at one point looked up right before the accident and said, yelled, like, "Watch out."
Yeah, and that's in the beginning of the book.
Right,
Yeah.
this is all in the first couple pages, and so when she yelled, "Watch out," he grabbed the steering wheel, which resulted in the car coming out of
Self-driving.
self-driving mode
Okay.
into his control,
Yeah.
and so then the question was, if he hadn't been texting and had been looking out the window
Mhm.
and been paying attention, or the father had been paying attention
Mm.
and seeing that he was not looking out the windshield very
Mhm.
much, or yeah, it turned out he was texting with his sister in the car,
Mm.
making fun of the other sister. Um, and then Lorelai, who's an expert in this.
Mhm.
And I mean, long story short, that other things are revealed that tie Lorelai and her expertise into AI and the ethics of AI into the development of the self-driving car,
Right.
which is why she wanted that insisted on them buying this car
Yeah.
because she was sure that this was the safest car ever.
Mhm.
So Lorelai thinks that she's responsible because the program somehow wasn't good enough. Dad, Noah, thinks he's responsible because he wasn't paying attention. Of course, Charlie was driving.
Mhm.
And then the sister who distracted by texting thinks she's responsible. And the sister that yelled, "Watch out," so that he grabbed the wheel, thinks she's responsible.
Right.
And so there's all these different things that happen when they go down to the Northern Neck
Mhm.
to recover. They get involved in a couple other interactions which are revealed to have to be related to this accident.
Mm.
Whether it's Lorelai's job, or whether it's a detective that's trying to you know investigate Charlie for texting,
Mm.
or whether it's just the development of AI, because basically people think AI kind of has a personality,
Mhm.
and AI could be good or bad, but really it can't because it's a computer program. It's an algorithm.
Right.
And that's what she ends up writing that book about that keeps getting
Mhm.
interspersed into it. Anyway, I just found the whole thing really fascinating.
Mhm.
Enjoyed the book. I recommend it to a lot of people that are looking for something different to read.
Yeah, who would you recommend this to?
I would recommend it to, well, just about anybody because I'm friends with the author. But I think his writing is good.
Yeah, it's very good.
I like the way that he intertwines things and reveals things at the really good pace.
Mm.
And there's so much to think about. And the way he develops the story to come to a really strong ending. Um, I think it's a really good book.
Okay.
And I loved reading it.
Yeah. Well, good. So if someone comes into the library, you're recommending Culpability.
Yeah, and that's happened a lot lately.
Well, it's still popular, so it's hard to get your hands on a copy
Yeah, there's
still.
a Holtz list on it. And
Yeah.
yeah, go buy it.
Support Bruce. He's a local author.
Lately, he's been doing like a storytelling project with another organization he's involved
Okay.
in Charlottesville.
Very cool.
But yeah, and his wife, so this was Oprah's book of the summer this year.
Yeah.
Um,
Or last year,
yeah,
2025.
2025. And it's very interesting because somebody in the audience asked if
So she does like Oprah does like
a book group.
a book group, and there's the whole audience. Yeah.
Right, so there's an audience, and somebody in the audience asked if this was based on his family. And he did talk about how he has two sons that are now young adults, they're in their 20s, and he was a soccer dad for a long time. The sport in this book is lacrosse, but the same idea where your kids are involved in sports, your parents. It's the way of the world these days. My daughter was in dance. I have well, I'm looking for something that would interest all of them, not just to spend their time, but for them to socialize a little bit.
Yeah.
And I do think the pandemic really had an impact on the whole dynamic in families, which still remains to be seen what the final sentence or what the final outcome, or I can't think of the word, but verdict, that's the good word. What the verdict will be on whether it was good or bad or whatever. But a lot of it was a different time. And a lot of things happened during the pandemic that were new to people, but had to be done.
Right.
So we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. So anyway, I thank you so much for bringing this book to us. I wanted to give you a chance if there's something you want to put a spotlight on, or something you're working on, or something you love.
Well, I'm always interested in ways that the public library can have a role in community engagement and civic engagement. More and more, we find ourselves participating in there's different kinds of libraries, and we're one that's a county department. There's some that are more independent of counties, but more and more we find ourselves collaborating with other community resources to provide information or to teach something or to make a connection. And so if anybody has something that the library should be working on that would benefit a community, a county, or a government, the library is a good partner in that, because not only does a library have smart employees who are information specialists, even if, like me, they're getting older and are not on the top of artificial intelligence, say,
It might be a
or the news trends.
benefit.
Right. There are some instances where the old way, the rotary phone, the non-electric typewriter, maybe there are some things that knowing the background of something has a meaning going forward. So
Yeah. Well, I want to add to that because one thing I did want to bring up at the beginning of this, I'm like, oh, yeah, I use AI. I'm not a heavy user, but I want to say my concern with AI is thinking about. I was listening to an album. It was from the 90s, band that I listened to when I was a teenager. And I was just listening to the music, listening to the sounds, and thinking about how the people in that band and the producers had to spend the time to learn how to create. And that how, when you are taking the time and you're failing, you're making mistakes, but you're learning how to do something, that you learn that something new comes out of that, right?
and then in the end, when you publish or produce the album or the product that is the output of your artistic endeavor, you get paid for it.
Right.
And now that's being sucked into things that are free and,
Well, even worse than that is the concern that if human beings are not learning, are not trying new things, aren't making mistakes, but then getting something out of it, so much comes from that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, AI is potentially not going to be learning these things, and humans aren't going to be learning it, right? Because you're not going to be learning to do the art because AI can do it for you. You're not going to learn to write because you can just ask ChatGPT to do it for you. And then you're not developing your craft, and you're not developing the humanities, all of these things. Yeah. So anyhow, it's just my little plug on trying to learn, trying to write it yourself, trying to learn it yourself. So
and I think Bruce is like super smart. And just the way that he went about researching and tying this together to make a story out of it, I think is really impressive.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for coming. Yeah, have an old fashioned with me and talk about culpability. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank
Yay.
you. Thank you
Woo.
for letting me come talk about Bruce Holsinger. I just think that gives you so much to think about.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for spending some time with me and my guest for an episode of Drinks in the Library. For more information about the show, you can find us on Instagram at Drinks in the Library, on the World Wide Web, drinksinthelibrary.com, or shoot me an email at drinkspod@gmail.com. Until next time, cheers.